Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Talking Books with Tanisha. This season and season 4 is dedicated to the books my mom introduced to me or brought me or got for me after, just kind of really thinking about how to grow my own personal library. In honor of my mom, who passed away in February, each of these episodes is dedicated to a book that she introduced me to, or a book that I read and enjoyed with her. So I'm really excited about this. I don't know why this one makes me so excited. I'm Tanisha, by the way. I'm a person who loves to read, who loves to talk about books, who loves to get books in the hands of other people, and who really enjoys when people get excited by stories. I think stories are super powerful. I think that introducing picture books like the ones I did a few weeks ago, all the way to chapter books that are like full of horror and intrigue and romance, like all those stories just help make us better and bigger people. And today I'm going to introduce two books that I still get really excited about because I have specific stories about each of them. If you have not read anything by Barthe DeClements, and she is an author that was very popular in the 80s. You have to get a book. You have to find one of these stories and just kind of like go back in time with me and kind of reminisce about this kind of the simplicity of the drama of a middle school or a elementary day in the life of. And that's what these two books are. So I'm going to talk about them because they go together. But I also have stories that go with these stories. And so the very first book that I was introduced to by Barthe DeClements was Nothing's Fair in fifth grade. And I remember this cover. This is the original cover. I still have my original book right here that I remember getting. My name's in it and everything. I got it in fourth grade. And I remember getting this book because I felt like, oh, like I'm edgy, like I'm in fourth grade, but I'm reading a fifth grade book. It's going to help me get ready for fifth grade. And this was about Jennifer. Jennifer was the main character, and they called her Jenny. And Jenny was introduced to this new girl that came into her classroom. Her name was Elsie Edwards, and Elsie was chubbier, was a kid that came, later after school started, so no one really knew her. And she just kind of became like the kid that a lot of kids started picking on. And people were not very nice to her. And Jenny gets matched up with her through a series of events. And what we kind of see is like a story of evolution where we start seeing how Jenny starts sympathizing and then starts empathizing with Elsie after she starts learning her story. And I remember just being fascinated with this cover. This cover is actually a scene in the book where they're having a sleepover. And the way the author describes the characters is so perfect that you can actually point through and figure out like who each of these characters is. And so as you're reading this story, you have a visualization of like who you're talking about and thinking about. And I just remember being really fascinated with all the different characters that were in this book. And it was really fun for me. It was fun to kind of like have a teacher who was just like, have a beautiful teacher and people really loved her. She was very harsh and strict though. And like she was like, I'm just tired. Jenny's thing was like, nothing's ever fair in fifth grade. Nothing's ever fair. And her teacher's like, they're right. Like nothing is ever fair. That's just that's a lesson you're gonna have to learn, right? And then what else do you learn from that? What else do you learn about yourself? And then most importantly, what do you learn about your friendships? So this is the book that really does deal with like what it means to be othered, but also what it means to start having understanding about someone and their story, and what it means to kind of go past just like nothing's fair and think about, what would you want it to be? And what would your ideal be? And, Elsie, her weight plays a pretty big role in this book. And it's a time where there wasn't as much, body positivity being talked about in stories. So we actually do see a pretty like, raw look at what it means when kids are picked on purely for their size. And that's really what comes with Elsie. Her mom is like really embarrassed by her size and is always trying to put her on a diet, restricts the amount of food that she has access to. That becomes a really big part of this story. So I just want to bring that up because we don't talk about that in the same way in our books more currently, but it's interesting to think about how the author dealt with that with this character in this story, in this book too. And I would say that Judy Blume is pretty similar with that. Like it's almost similar in some ways to Blubber, the way they talk about this character, Elsie. So just something to kind of be aware of. That's Nothing's Fair in fifth grade. So by the time sixth grade came, she had a sequel. And I remember just like waiting and waiting for the sequel to come out. And I remember when it came out, I told my mom. And that was actually the year where we had just moved back to California after living in Texas for a few years. And my dad had not yet started his job full time. My mom was still looking for work and nothing had come was really kind of flowing in. And there wasn't a lot that was going to be happening for Christmas in terms of presents that year. And I remember this because the only thing I really wanted was that book. This book, Sixth Grade Can Really Kill You. That's the one that I really wanted. I wanted to read the sequel to this because there's some of the same characters, and there's also some brand new characters. And my mom was able to get me this book and a sweater vest that she passed down to me from her closet. And that must have been like for me like one of the best presents I got. I loved it. I remember reading it as soon as I got it. I was so excited to have it. I knew that we didn't have much that Christmas, but I also feel like I had a lot just from getting that book. Which might sound kind of silly to some people, but like for people like me who really do value a good story and really do value a good book, like that book was priceless. And I still have my original copy. I actually passed my original copy on to my daughter who also read Sixth Grade Can Really Kill You. And I used this book when I was teaching sixth grade. And this one deals with Helen. And Helen has a learning disability. She is not able to read fluently. She covers it up. She hides it a lot until she can't hide it anymore. And when she can't hide it anymore, she gets referred to receive special services in a classroom that's really going to help her work on her reading, but she's embarrassed by that. And so this book really deals with what happens when you know that you're capable of it, but you haven't been taught, you haven't been given the right skills or techniques or instruction to be able to bring out the best in you. And she has real significant learning disabilities. So it's not something that she's just kind of, trying to like kind of, cover up. But it also is really, I think it's a really good, realistic way in which the author helps us understand what Helen is going through. And I think to also kind of gain sympathy around the idea that not everyone has the same access to like being able to be literate or have access around reading and words. We take that for granted sometimes. I think about in the bigger terms of like literacy, what it means like for us to be able to teach kids to read, and to assume that all kids will have access to reading in the same way. What I do also know is that the Helen needed something that was going to kind of capture her interest, and she needed someone to make it joyful for her. And in this book, we figure out ways in which she's able to gain that and in ways that make her feel good about who she is, in kind of fun and creative ways. So, and the other thing about Helen is that because she does struggle with her reading, she tends to get bored in class. She tries to avoid, doing things that usually ends up getting her in trouble. So, Sixth Grade Can Really Kill You is really about her kind of like struggles and also kind of revelations as she goes through her sixth grade year. These books together were like one of my favorite things ever during that kind of fifth and sixth grade, fourth, fifth, and sixth grade years of my life. I've read these books like over and over and over again. It makes me want to read it right now because it's one of those stories I just never got tired of. If you are someone who's interested in kind of doing throwback books and like want to kind of go back to like what it felt like in the 80s and just kind of like see some really simple characters, no filter, so probably will feel a little bit rough as you're reading it. But if you want to kind of go back to some of that, I recommend you read Barthe DeClements. Like Nothing's Fair in fifth grade and sixth grade Can Really Kill You. My mom got both of these books for me. This one was from a Scholastic Book Fair. I still remember picking it out myself. And the other one I told you she was able to get that for me for Christmas. So thank you, Mommy, for introducing these books to me. I'm happy to pass them on to you all. And if nothing else, you all find a great book that you're reading and share it with someone else. Stories are not meant to be kept to ourselves. They are meant to share. So on that note, have a beautiful day. Keep reading. Thanks for joining. If you like what you are seeing, please like and subscribe and share with other people. The more people that are able to see different book recommendations, the more we're able to get books in the hands of people to enjoy stories, and the more we can spread the love of literacy. So, and literature. So please share the word, like and subscribe, and thanks for joining. See you next time on Talking Books with Tanisha.